Hello and welcome to Cutting to the Board in the Post-Truth Apocalypse. I'm Ben, as always. I'm hanging out with Mike.
Hello.
Claire.
Hey.
And Pete.
Hello.
This week we're carrying on our Greatest Military Blunders Part 2.
Woohoo!
It's a history episode, it's light and fluffy. Ish.
It's a lovely one, this.
And it's great to have a Part 2 though.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I just think there's just been that many military blunders.
Oh yeah, you could have a part 50.
Yeah.
I know this is like a comedy podcast, but some of these have been like hilariously tragic.
Oh God, yeah. The thing is, we do try and bring the light to every subject, but some subjects are just very difficult to bring any light to at all.
Has anyone had a favourite one so far? Like not a favourite one, but like a one that you think, oh fuck me, that was a dumbass idea.
To be honest, I think that the earlier one with the couple of 100,000, like the really early one.
The Romans.
Yeah, it
The
was
Romans at Carnae with
That
the
was it.
80,000 who just all got surrounded.
I think it was just like, ah.
For me so far it's a Paraguayan one. I mean, you've got all the advantage and you just lose it. It's absolutely insane.
Yep, just charge across that swampy ground, boys.
Charging cavalry across swampy ground towards cannons.
Massed
And
cannons.
then it wasn't just once, it was 3 times.
They all died.
Yeah.
Right, thanks for remembering to the listeners. I just want to say you can follow us on Facebook at Cutting to the Board in the Post-Truth Apocalypse. SoundCloud and Spotify and most other podcasting platforms are Cutting to the Ball in the PTA. And YouTube is Apocalypse Ball. Thanks, like and subscribe us, tell your friends, tell a loved one, tell a neighbour, tell your mistress or, well, what's the male equivalent of a mistress?
Mister?
Mister?
Is it?
Yeah, I don't actually know. Gigolo?
I thought a gigolo was like a male prostitute.
Well, he
Yeah.
is. Yeah, he's,
Toy
not a red,
boy.
he's not a red
Toy boy.
Toy boy.
probably,
Toy boy, yeah.
Yeah,
That
yeah, because a
makes him out
mistress...
as a younger.
No, because that's what a mistress normally is.
Toy boy or sugar daddy then.
No,
That covers
oh,
it.
Ah,
okay.
yeah, there you go.
You've got
Sugar
them all
daddy.
now.
Yeah,
But you
sugar
are
daddy,
right,
yeah.
though. I think because a mistress is like a younger bit on
Yeah.
the side from your wife, but
Yeah.
she knows about it.
That's true. Or they pretend they don't, but they do.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. I'm assuming none of you are mistress listeners. I'm sure you're all lovely people and faithful to your partners. Randolph Township, Jersey City, Greenville in the US, Frankfurt am Main in Germany, Dublin, Ireland, Calgary in Canada, Albemarle. Did you say that? Albemarle?
No idea.
No, not me. Portugal, I know that one. It's in the US.
Alba Marie, I'd have
I think
thought.
Albemarle. I don't know.
Oh, is it
You'll know who you are. I've seen you before.
It's an
Brussels in Belgium, Ashburn in America, Guadalajara, Spain. I was lured into a false sense of security then by the screen not being scrolled properly down.
You had one job, Mike. One job.
And I fucked it.
Right. Let's go to a big famous one. You've all heard of this one, guys. Custer.
Who?
Custer's
Who?
last stand at the Battle of the Little Bighorn.
This is probably one of the most famous, isn't it?
Oh,
Yeah.
but I wouldn't be able to tell you exactly what happened in it, but it's certainly one
Yeah.
that everyone's heard
Yeah.
of.
Well, because it's been completely romanticised.
100%.
Because
isn't
obviously
it?
Custer's seen as it's a heroic last stand
He
on
was
a
like
hill. and
hero,
everything.
wasn't he? Yeah.
He was a Civil War hero. You know, the guy was a legitimate war hero. Impressive moustache. Used to
Yeah,
wear a
yeah.
buckskin jacket. He had a bit of a suave. He was dashing. He was a cavalry officer. They're all dashing, aren't they? And that period in
handlebar
time,
tash, though, was
he was
pretty
fucking
awesome,
impressive.
wasn't it?
You know, he was a character. He was like one of these guys who spoke to the media a lot. And, this is how I'd be doing it, kind of thing.
Media?
Yeah, even back then, the newspapers.
Yeah, yeah.
You
Yeah,
know.
I suppose, yeah.
Not
Not,
seeing
it's
it.
not that old.
No, he's not speaking to Sky
Well,
News.
that's what I was thinking. Sky News were there. It wouldn't
Rupert
surprise me.
Murdoch was old enough.
Yeah.
He remembers this.
What year is this then? For those of us who aren't brilliant at history, like 18 something.
It's like I haven't got the. Hang on, I've got this article. actually up
1850s or
because
something. I've got 1850s in my head.
1876 is when it is. So yeah,
That's
you're
close.
the Indian Wars, aren't you?
Yeah.
It's basically, you've got the Lakota, Dakota, Northern Cheyenne and Arafafio versus the United States Army and some scouts.
It's sort
Do
of
you know
like
what,
Dances with Wolves time.
Yeah.
But you know what
Love that film.
the
Great
whole
in it. Kevin Costner's awesome in it, isn't he?
Yeah.
but the premise of this
It was Kevin fucking Costner, man.
He's no Lou Diamond Phillips, but
He'd be in this if it was a film.
yeah, he would.
But he is a film, in all fairness.
anything connected to this is tragic because it was a fucking tragic thing that was happening.
Yep.
Because they were just they committed genocide and culled
Oh god, yeah.
the native
Broke
fucking
every
people.
treaty they made with them.
Yeah, they're still breaking treaties now, you know.
Yeah.
It's quite
And
impressive.
there's not
in a
many
way.
left at all, is there? Really?
No.
What? I guess.
It's their country.
Yeah. It's just not right, is it?
Isn't right.
It's not. It is, however, one of the most well-known engagements in America's military history. They love this shit.
Mm.
And for decades after the battle, Lieutenant Colonel George Custer was considered an American hero for his last stand against the forces of the Lakota, Northern Cheyenne and Arafao tribes.
That's propaganda for you there, isn't it?
Oh god, yeah. Modern historians have documented Custer's various mistakes before and during the battle, which led to a decisive victory for the tribal war leaders Crazy Horse and Chief Gown. Alright, let's start at the beginning. Custer's got 700 men, splits his force, he's in there with like 200. He's got up against 1,100 to 2,500 Indian warriors. Ironically, one of the biggest forces they ever amassed. The Indians didn't really do big armies. Didn't get on, did they?
No, totally didn't. But they'd more often ambush in like
Yeah, they never fought a
within
stand
the
up.
woodlands and things
Yeah.
like that. That was their style of attack, wasn't
It was,
it?
yeah.
They'd hit and run, wouldn't they? Even on the plains, they'd swoop in, fire a few arrows and fuck off again as quick as they could.
Yeah, after taking a couple of scalps.
If they could.
Everyone's seen Last of the Mohicans, haven't they?
Fantastic
Oh.
film.
Oh, yeah. Before this, though.
Fantastic
Yeah, it
soundtrack
was, yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
First, so when he splits his force, he's got about 200 guys with him. He's up against up to 2,500 Indians. He's actually got 2 Gatling guns. The first ever machine guns, you know, the hand crank.
Yeah.
With the load the magazine at the top, hand crank. You're still talking about 200 rounds a minute, one of them things.
They had no ammo for it.
No, he just decided they'd slow him down and left them with the bulk of his regiment. No, they'll slow me down, I'm not taking them. And the second thing, he positioned his regiment so far away that they couldn't actually come and help him if they wanted to. Because they were
isolated.
So he got himself in a completely isolated position and then realised, oh shit.
We're outnumbered 10 to 1.
He was supposed to wait for a Brigadier General Alfred Terry and Colonel John Gibson's troops to arrive before launching an attack, but he decided he'd make it immediately afraid the Sioux and the Cheyennes would escape if he waited. Probably not. It's no easy thing to just uproot a village and fuck off when you've got 2,000 people, is it? We've got a picture of this, and if you go online, you'll see loads of pictures where they're on the hill and Custer's in the middle and the flags are in the middle with him, and they're
They're paintings, aren't they?
oh yeah, paintings, unless someone time travellers were there.
They had cameras back then, didn't they?
He's got
I
a
don't
phone,
think they'd
he's
be
got a
taking
phone
pictures
in
of
his
this.
hand.
No.
That one in the left corner, he's got a phone in his hand. Look, smartphone.
Yeah, and they just get overwhelmed. They didn't die on the hill. They died trying to get to the hill. They've actually done loads of archaeology on the Little Bighorn site, and have found the bodies. They're in a streak going towards the summit of the hill. So they were kind of cut down as they went.
Well, they'd have seen them coming they're scouts. They'd have seen them coming miles off. These 200 soldiers, wouldn't they?
Well, that's it. And he dismounted a lot of his men as well, thinking they'd be more effective as riflemen.
Oh dear.
Yeah. So Custer, we'll step up to the 20th century. 20th century, bit bloody, wasn't it?
Just a bit.
It's only 40 years later now, eh?
23.
I don't know what your maths is, Ben. It ain't 23.
What, since the 20th century?
No, he's on
I'd
about
say
after
this is
Custer.
40 years later.
Oh, sorry. I completely misunderstood what you were saying then.
You're like bringing it up to
I was like, what?
like the,
It's not 2040, is it? Jesus, what's happened? We're into the 20th century, we're going to go with the Battle of the Somme. The Brits making it onto the list for the first time.
yeah, that was it. Battle of the Somme. embarrassment on it, really.
We've had a fair share of blunders over the years, haven't we?
We have. I mean, I could have put this San Juana in here where the British regiment got killed by Zulus. It's the precursor to Zulu, the movie. If you watch Zulu Dawn, you're supposed to watch it in sequence.
What about when we lost Singapore?
Yeah, that was... But I didn't put that in because we just surrendered it. It wasn't really a blunder. But it was a blunder. It was a lot of massive blunders, but we didn't put up a fight, did we? We just went, all right then. You cut the water supply off. We won't do anything. I just marched 70,000 soldiers into captivity. Yeah.
But yeah, the Battle of the Somme was a biggie.
It was. Fought between the July 1st and November 18th, 1916. So this goes on for months. Everyone just thinks of the first day.
Mm.
It remains one of the deadliest battles in human history. Obviously the Western Front. It's Britain and France versus the Germans. The Germans have attacked Verdun at this point, and their goal is to bleed the French army white. They're just going to just kill as many Frenchmen as they can at Verdun. So it falls on the Brits to make the main attack, because the French are too busy down there.
Wouldn't you bleed them red?
You can bleeding them white, they go pale and bleed out, wouldn't they? So you're bleeding them to death.
Okay. That's even more gruesome.
It is. So the immediate phase of the battle began with a week-long artillery bombardment by Allied forces. 1 million shells in a week.
Cool.
That's what killed most men in World War One, wasn't it? The shelling.
Yeah, the artillery.
There was a lot of it.
It was very big.
Yeah.
Problem is, in 1916, as daft as it sounds, Britain's kind of just got fully mobilised. They've just started to get peak manufacturing performance, and a lot of these shells are crap.
Right.
They're either exploding earlier or could bury themselves in the mud and then exploding.
So made these Monty Burns.
No, his work, damn it. That's your Schindler's, it didn't work.
Yeah.
But this is just manufacturing naivety in a way, amateurish. You've pushed like millions of women into the factories and got to make this complicated artillery fuse.
Yeah.
And it takes time to perfect that. The manufacturing's got to be there, your assembly's got to be there. And the amount they want, people are rushing. So yeah, a lot of them didn't have the desired effect, which was to cut the barbed wire in front of the German trenches. So when the first attacking forces go over the top at dawn, whistles blow, and they're all so fucking confident. You cannot believe the confidence. They're walking. They don't need to run. They don't need to charge because they just fired 1 million shells at them in a week.
Who fired shells at whom?
The British fired 1 million shells at the Germans in a week. Obviously the Germans replied, but not to that ferocity. I mean, one regiment was like kicked a football out into no man's land before they went over the top.
Thought we were going to have tea and scones in Berlin by the end of the week.
But this was it. It was the big push. And the real tragedy of it is that they're all mates. 1916, the big call for volunteers. All those guys have spent like best part of a year training.
They call it the PAL
The
Brigade.
PALS battalions. So you'd have like a Dawley company within a Telford brigade, a Wellington company, a Madeley company. Do you know what I mean? So, it's like everyone in your town, 800 chaps from your town volunteer, all from the same area, get stuck in a regiment together. What happens when all your mates start dying? You tend to freak out.
Yeah.
PTSD.
All your mates are dying around you.
People you've grown up with.
Yeah.
For
You've got cousins, you've got uncles, you've got brothers in this unit.
But it does make sense in a way, doesn't it?
It does.
Because you're going to fight.
It helps
Hard,
camaraderie
yeah.
and morale and that, but tragic if it
Yeah.
goes the wrong
Yeah.
way.
If it all goes well, that unit cohesion's fantastic. If it all goes terrible, like this, it's not going to go so well.
No.
So they're walking towards the German defences. The Germans have got really deep bunkers. They all come back out, man their machine guns, and guess what? The barbed wire's still there. 57,000 casualties in the first day for the British, including 19,000 killed. 57,000 people dead or wounded, 19,000 of them dead.
Jesus. At what point, I'm going to say it again, at what point do you call the people back or just say fucking stop?
Well, you don't. You carry on over months and months.
And that was in the
It's
first
what they
day,
did.
wasn't it?
Me and
First
you,
day.
normal people, saying people, this is insane. We can't afford to keep this fucking rate of casualties up. But they're psychopaths, aren't they? They don't give a shit.
Why don't we just keep them back and bomb them a bit more?
Yeah, I think Claire's referring to the attack, not the whole war ethos.
Well,
Not the whole
no.
ethics of warfare. Claire's just
No.
like,
No,
just
she's
stop,
saying-
stop them fucking attacking.
What? Yeah. What? When do you say stop? You know, get back in the trenches. That call a halt to. The
But they didn't, did they? They
When
went
you-
on for months and months.
Probably when your first 2 waves have gone over the top and no one's come back.
Exactly, or no one's got through the other side. That's
Well, we've all seen the last episode of Blackadder, haven't we? Blackadder goes forth.
yeah.
And they all
Yeah,
go over
yeah.
the top, and it was like that essentially.
Except that's in 1970 when the army's actually a little bit wiser.
Well, yeah.
This is
And that was just a
the
piss
first
take,
battle for
wasn't it?
the majority of these soldiers.
Mm.
And remember, there's no telephones, there's no radios. If you're a telephone connection with the guys at the front, you've got to wheel the wire out as you go. So there's no one left to wheel the wire out or make the call.
So I mean, you'd think 57,000 the first day. Fuck, this has failed.
Yeah,
Let's not.
let's not do it again.
But they do for months and
They
months.
do. They do literally for months. The Battle of the Somme finally ended in mid-November, both sides exhausted, and no significant breakthroughs. The Allies advanced a mere 6 miles or 10 kilometres at the cost of over 600,000 casualties. German casualties are estimated at around 450,000. I've heard higher than that. I've heard figures that put them on a par with the Allies. There is a case of the Allies, as horrible as it sounds, actually winning this battle. A case to be made, not a very strong case.
They gained 10 clicks in.
They gained 10
ground.
miles and you all lost the same amount of guys. Chalk it up, I guess, was their thinking.
Huh.
It is just a disaster, and it's the fact that no one seemed to realise that the Germans had dug some really deep bunkers, and no one's telling you how good your own shells are, I guess, or how bad your own shells are. A lot of young lads lost all their family and friends because they'd all joined up together. You know?
Shocking, innit? What a horrific war.
Yeah. It was. You didn't go there. How'd you come back? That's what I always like about Peaky Blinders, a show, the first season of that. Because they come back from fighting in France and they're in what do they know? They know how to fucking hurt people. They know how to be organised. And then but they're all fucked in the head. All of them are fucked in the head because of the war. They wouldn't be those people
Yeah.
if that war hadn't have happened.
And the British government was shitting it.
Oh, they were. There was nearly a mutiny at them.
Yeah.
No one ever talks about that, but when you've got like 1 million British soldiers sat in France at the end of the war, and the government doesn't want them all coming back at the same time, because they've just got 1 million trained soldiers turn up on your doorstep, looking for work and homes, right, that aren't there, because you promised them this land for heroes. They decided to delay it, to ship them back in little packets of men. And there was a fucking full-blown mutiny near enough.
I'm not surprised.
They promised some homes for heroes and
Jobs.
they,
And obviously there was depression later on, wasn't there? Yeah. So yeah, the legacy of it continues. It's shaped British culture, the Somme, let's face it, from Blackadder to parents, to ancestors who were there, to great-grandparents in our case. Some people's dads were there.
That mutiny doesn't surprise me at all. I went and picked up my mate from the airport the other day, and they wouldn't let him off the airplane because they hadn't got enough buses to move him to the terminal. Some scouse bird started proper kicking off. And this is after like 30 minutes stuck in a plane on the runway. So yeah, all them soldiers,
Yeah. Have you heard of Gallipoli? There's a film with Mel Gibson in it.
really good film actually.
No, I don't think so.
But being Mel Gibson, of course, he does make us out to be completely incompetent and a fault for everything
He
that's
was
ever
just an
gone
actor
wrong.
at that point. He didn't have any say in it.
He's
did
still a racist towards the Brits. Basically, the Brits and the French decide that we should invade Turkey because they've joined in with the Germans in World War One, and we're like, we're the soft underbelly of Europe. It was Churchill who said that. He was head of the navy at this point, Churchill,
Right.
and he's like, soft underbelly of Europe. That is what the Turks. They're crumbling. We'll hit them. We'll get our way up into the belly of Germany. Not a problem. Break the deadlock on the Western Front, wouldn't it?
Yep.
Yeah, it didn't go so well. The Dardanelles campaign took place between April 25th, 1915 and January 9th, 1916 during World War One. It was a joint British and French operation aimed at capturing the Ottoman Empire's capital, Constantinople, modern-day Istanbul. Well, I prefer Constantinople.
I thought there was a lot of Aussies and New Zealanders, weren't there, at Gallipoli?
Yes, it was a British Empire. This is the Anzacs, Australian New Zealand Army Corps. They take the brunt of this. So, let's face it, you knock out the Ottoman Empire, you weaken the Alliance, and then you sweep on into the soft underbelly of Germany. Tea and crumpets in Berlin by Christmas. Never goes that way. Despite some initial progress, the Allied forces encountered stiff resistance from Ottoman troops who were well prepared and led by a German general, Lehmann von Sanders, and the talented Ottoman commander Mustafa Kemal Ataturk, who went on to be leader of Turkey.
Yeah, I'm sure the Istanbul Stadium's named the Ataturk.
It probably is. He's quite a Turkish hero. So it's really shitty terrain. It's mountainous. It's really hot. It's sandy. You've got to attack up ridges in hot weather with supply issues, and the Allies couldn't advance, and soon you end up in a stalemate like you've got on the Western Front. You've got trench networks, and you just end up with that. And because it's really hot, you start getting people going down with heat stroke.
Yeah.
Water can't be. You can't just deliver water to a front line that's under constant fire without killing the guys who are bringing the water. After months of fruitless fighting and mounting losses, the British government finally decided to withdraw from the Gallipoli Peninsula. To be fair, the withdrawal was the most successful part of this. They did it really well. They even set up things to fire rifles off, and at times timed weights. And the guns would fire to make the Turks think they were still there. So
Right.
every few minutes, someone would pop a rifle off or something like that. A rifle would go off on its own. Well, everyone else just fucked off in the night. But it still cost the Allies 250,000 casualties. And this was the best. Well, between December 1915 and January 1916. Oh, that was the evacuation. Sorry. It's still April 25th, 1915. Not even a year. You've taken 250,000 casualties. Light and fluffy. Stalingrad. The Germans invading Russia as a whole, to be fair. Let's face it.
Hitler's biggest mistake, wasn't it?
He shouldn't have been going for a country that big, should he, really?
No, he shouldn't have. He shouldn't have.
He should have learned
He
from
fought on
Napoleon.
too many fronts. Yeah, he was allied with them before that, wasn't
Spread himself far too thin, didn't
Yeah.
he? And then took on
It's-
like a bloody like a chihuahua taking on a bulldog.
he?
Almost. It's
I
like,
hope you're not referring to an XL bully.
The trouble is that
you know what I mean though. It's like the size of fucking Russia, the size of Germany.
The point.
the Nazis had won every battle at that point.
Yeah.
They'd won
They
every
were
battle and they'd
winning.
won it very quickly,
Yeah.
which is the point. They were geared up to win battles in 4 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks, maybe 3 months tops. Russia's too big to do that.
He almost did it. He was 50 miles, wasn't he, from Moscow?
Yeah. Then all them Siberians rocked up. Literally.
Split his forces, didn't he?
Yeah, he went north and south.
Yeah.
But they're 50 miles away from Moscow, and Stalin gets the word that the Japanese aren't going to attack the other side of Russia. So he's got 40 divisions of tough as fuck Siberians sat there. They're all skiing dudes. You know them Russians you always see in the white outfits,
Yeah.
skiing and firing a submachine gun.
Yeah.
There's 150,000.
Yeah, I always see that.
In all the Bond films.
In all the Bond films.
Oh, right, yeah.
But there's 250,000 of them, and they're all hard as fuck because they're Siberian.
But the Japanese were allied with the fucking Nazis.
Yeah, but they were like, "No, we're not doing that." Pretty much, he was like, "Nah, you see how big they are."
His allies really let him down.
He
All
had
of them
terrible
did.
allies. Hitler did. I mean,
The
you got the
Italians.
Bulgarians, the Romanians, the Italians. All those little countries that have had nothing in the game, but just thought, "Fuck it, we'll tag on with him because he's winning."
Well, they were
It
puppet
was
states,
just
weren't they?
just numbers to throw at.
But they were terrible. They were all awful.
Yeah, they were.
You had to keep bailing them out all the time.
That's why they spent them so. That's how they ended up in Italy, because the Italians couldn't do anything. So yeah, fought between August 23rd, 1942 and February 2nd, 1943. One of the largest, most brutal battles in the history of warfare.
Yeah.
Taking place during World War II, the battle pitted the Axis forces led by Nazi Germany against the Soviet Union in a ferocious struggle for control of the city of Stalingrad, no Volgograd. Obviously, the name I always think had a thing with it. Like Hitler
course.
wanted to capture Stalingrad.
And Stalin
And
didn't want to let it go.
Stalin couldn't lose Stalingrad.
Yeah.
It was always into about the egos in the end. The battle began with the German Sixth Army, commanded by General Friedrich Paulus, launching an offensive against Stalingrad as part of Hitler's Operation Barbarossa. Capture the city, it holds strategic and symbolic importance, and it guards the flank as they go towards the oil fields. They need the oil fields. They really need the oil fields because 80% of their fuel is being synthetically made, so it's shit.
Yep.
Tanks are breaking down because of it.
What they're making it out of?
It's all various chemicals and it's chemically done. So you get Field Marshal Grigory Zhukov, if you've ever seen The Death of Stalin, he will represent the entire Red Army at the buffet table. Fantastic film, actually.
It's good, isn't it?
What film?
The Death of Stalin.
I haven't watched it.
And the fight against Stalingrad quickly descended into a brutal war of attrition, with both sides engaged in fierce, close quarters combat amid the bombed out ruins of the city. That's the issue. It's bombed out, man. It's bombed out. It's rubble. There's a few buildings standing, and there's snipers, and there's booby traps, and you're fighting amongst the wreckage of people's lives.
And Zhukov's cut off the German army.
What he will
He's gone
do.
in, well,
in a
yeah,
second.
he goes in behind, and he cuts them off so they're left stranded.
Yeah, the Germans start off really well, but by September 1942, the Red Army's defence and the fact the Russian winter starts to come in starts to fuck the Nazis and the Axis forces.
Yeah, the winter kills them, doesn't it?
So they get the airports cut off and everything, and the roads. And Goering says, like, "Hey, I can supply the forces there. Don't worry about it. The Luftwaffe will fly in. We'll drop loads of stuff by parachute. Won't be a problem." Doesn't work because he's an idiot and he overestimates what his much depleted Luftwaffe can do at this point. But they can't deliver anywhere near it. But they go, okay. Doesn't work. They all start. The German doctors in the field hospitals are doing autopsies on German soldiers to figure out why they died, and it's because of starvation.
No.
Yep.
Never mind the frostbite.
Yeah, losing their fingers to frostbite, can't fight, can you?
No.
No. But when the Zhukov launches Operation Uranus, which smashes through the flanks of the city, and the forces, who are manned by Hitler's allies,
Yeah.
the unreliable guys that they didn't want in the sea, the Bulgarians, the Romanians, I think the Italians are there,
Hungarians. possibly.
Hungarians. He just smashes through them because they're nothing. They ain't standing up to that. And you end up encircling the city, and it costs the Germans 750,000 casualties. Bear in mind they invaded Russia with about 3 million men. Losing 750,000 of them in the space of 5 months or so
Yeah.
is a bit of a blow. But the thing is, we remember it as well, not just for its savagery, the fact that it was a turning point. No one had beaten the Germans on land until Stalingrad. Well, we had actually after Alamein, but the Russians hadn't beaten them on land. They hadn't beaten them at all, to be fair.
The Soviets did lose a lot, though. 1.1 million
Yeah.
military and civilian
Yeah.
deaths, like.
Well,
But
Stalin told the civilians to stay and fight, didn't he?
Yeah, dig the trenches or
Yeah.
fire a rifle. You've seen an enemy at the gates, haven't you?
many years ago.
It's another
Yeah,
good film,
that's
isn't it?
Stalingrad.
Mm.
I don't know how much truth there is to the guy gets a rifle, you get the ammo, when he dies, pick up the rifle and fire back. Manpower's one thing the Russians never been short of. Yeah. Still, shitter to be there.
Oh, fuck yeah.
And all the time, of course, Paulus, like Claire says, when do they call it off? Paulus is begging Hitler to retreat.
Yeah.
He's like, let me pull out. Because they launched a counter-attack, and like, if you meet us in the middle, we'll get you out, we'll open a corridor.
Yeah.
And Hitler was like, nope, stay and fight. He promotes Paulus to field marshal,
Yeah.
right? Because he knows that no German field marshals ever surrendered. So it's basically telling him to commit suicide.
Yeah.
And he surrenders anyway the next
He
day.
does, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Next.
You could do Market Garden if you like, the British one.
I,
They had a British one,
I
yeah.
loved that level on Medal of Honor,
Which one? Stalingrad or Market Garden?
Market Garden.
Dropping in with the Brits.
Yeah, it was really good level on that game. Going back to the old PlayStation 2, I think.
I think I remember that actually. They were cracking games, so COD came out.
Brilliant games. Shame Call of Duty took over because they were great, Medal of Honor.
Yeah, they brought it back and it just wasn't as good.
Yeah, they tried, didn't they?
Yeah. Market Garden, 1944. So, yeah, this is the first British entry on the list.
So the song.
Apart from the song.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we do two. It took place from September 17th to the 25th of 1944, and one of the largest airborne operation in history, probably, and a significant military disaster for the Allies during World War II.
See, I've never heard of this one before.
Can't believe you've never seen the film A Bridge Too Far.
Mm.
Monty, Field Marshal Bernard Montgomery, he didn't like Patton, Patton didn't like Montgomery. Both Monty's got the northern flank, Patton's got the south.
There's a little bit of this on Band of Brothers, isn't there?
Yes, there is.
Yeah.
They take place in Market Garden.
Yeah.
Ah.
So
Monty
you've watched Band of
Yeah.
Brothers, haven't you? Yeah.
Monty convinces Eisenhower to give him the supplies. He says, look, I can get across these bridges in Holland. We'll flank around the Germans. We'll go through Belgium. Boom, we've got to capture these bridges to get the tanks across. So the Allies have got this like Allied airborne army sat there. It's got the American 82nd, 101st, the British 1st and 6th Paras. All of them done really well at D-Day, and they've been keeping these guys in reserve, even though they're some of the best guys they've got. And they drop them in to capture these bridges. 40,000 paratroopers, are British, American and Polish. And the idea is that the British tanks will advance up the road, straight up the road, capture the bridges that the paratroopers have captured and held, and then we've got this corridor into Germany. Sounds fantastic, doesn't it?
It does.
Doesn't
It's
work out like that.
foolproof.
Doesn't It's a cunning plan. The problem is that no one seems to know, despite the fact that they've done loads of intelligence on the area, that there's 2 SS Panzer divisions in the area who are re-equipping and regrouping, having a bit of a rest. They're some of the best guys the Germans have got on the Western Front at this point. And no one seems to realise it, or they ignore it, thinking, nah, that's got to be bollocks. So you get poor weather, it hampers a deployment, and then radio equipment does not work.
Ugh.
None of the British radios will work. So they don't know when help is coming, they don't know how far along. They can't talk to each other, they don't know how far along help is, they don't know if the bridges behind them have been captured. Because the Americans are doing the first 2 and the British are doing the last 1.
I would have called it off there. Until your communication's key.
Yeah, but you're the last guys, you've got all you know is you've got to do this. You're the furthest along, the British were.
Yeah.
So they've got to do it. Because they, in the hope that the tanks catch up. The problem is that the 30th Corps, who were advancing, the armoured army advancing up the road, was like so lacklustre in its offensiveness. It was like, oh yeah, we're going to stop for tea now.
No.
But the Americans are like, they're going to blow the bridge if you don't like get there. We're holding it, but we need tanks. It's tea time.
Typical British response, that, isn't it?
Sorry, nothing can be done until we've had tea. It's literally that kind of thing. They just have no sense of urgency whatsoever
Fucking hell.
to get there, and it ends up with 15,000 Allied casualties, which at that stage of the war in 1944, you don't want to be one of those guys because you know you've got to win the war.
Yeah.
As a Brit and American, you know you're going to win at this point. Germans on its arse. And literally, it's like 90% of the British 1st Airborne Division's killed or captured. You're talking about 6,000 to 8,000 casualties.
Well, maybe that's why they stopped for tea. They knew they were winning the war, so they're just like, oh, we've already got them on their arse, lads, you know.
Do you know what? You're probably right,
Fuck
though.
it, let's have a cup of
Yeah, but
tea.
your mates up the road are fighting for their lives. But you don't know they're fighting for their
Yeah,
lives.
that's the thing.
Yeah,
They
you got
didn't
no
know that, did
communication.
they?
No. It basically delayed the war by several months. It was that horrific.
Fuck.
Thing is, we've certainly learned from mistakes, haven't we, of those types? Because let's face it, the British forces is, bar none, probably the best in the world, isn't it? Might not be the biggest. the most
Training
rich,
wise,
but
definitely I'd put us up there.
numbers wise, one of our top men against one of any other branch's top men. You guarantee.
Top
you know what I
men.
mean?
Yeah.
Put our SAS up against the other
The
whatevers.
Navy SEALs.
You guarantee our SAS blokes will piss all over them.
They did.
And they always do. They always do.
I know the American Marines and the Royal Marines, sorry American listeners, did a joint exercise and the Royal Marines won in 6 hours. It was meant to last 3 days.
They always do, though.
Then they had to like go, can we just restart it because you caught us on the hop there.
Oh, can I just press reset?
Yeah, it's a cod.
Is
Street
there a
Fighter.
Is there a rewind button?
No, we're not the biggest and we're not the best equipped, but man for man, we're very well trained. We'll take you on.
Is that stiff British stiff upper lip?
And the fact that-
And the cups of tea, obviously.
Funnily enough, British fighting vehicles, Claire, armoured vehicles, right,
Yeah.
have tea makers in
are the
it.
only ones that come with tea makers.
Oh.
They have a boiling vessel,
Yeah.
it's called a BV. Runs heat off the engine to boil water. So you can always
So you
have
can
a
always
cup of
have
tea
have
in
have
a British tank.
a hot wet, as they call
Yeah.
it.
Which for me, being a non-tea drinker, was just slightly annoying.
Oh, you like water, so what are you bitching about?
Because
You'd
I
be
don't
alright.
warm water. I want boiling water off the engine, do I?
Yeah, you'd have had it in your little...
Yeah, but everyone else is making cups of tea and I just got what's in my bottle.
With
Tough
it.
shit, innit?
Fucking have a cup of tea then.
I don't like tea.
Did you just shit on the floor?
No, something.
It was a lighter.
Oh, right.
What did you
I just thought something fell out of your ass.
Me pens fell out of my pocket. I don't usually keep a pen. I keep a pen on me at all times at work. I'm a warehouseman. I have to have a pen.
He's lying. He's just a weirdo.
I always have a pen. Let's go to the Korean War. Not one that we were all very knowledgeable about, actually, in
No.
Britain.
No.
But this is quite a famous one, the Chosin River, 1950. It takes place between United Nations forces, predominantly comprised of American and South Korean troops, and the Chinese who've got in there, the People's Volunteer Army. The rugged mountainous terrain around the Chosin River in North Korea. It's mainly US Marines in this. It's really a US Marine legend, this is.
PVA. That's like the shittest glue ever.
It's also the People's Volunteer Army
Yeah,
of
it
China.
doesn't bode well. I
It
don't
does
think.
not. So basically, the Allies, the UN, pushes so far up, and then the Chinese hit them because they got too close to China in the Korean War.
Was this when, was it MacArthur wanted to
Nuke the
them?
Chinese, yeah, he did want to, yeah.
Can I just ask? I'm shit with history, especially of that type. Who was in charge? Was it an Un? An ill or whatever?
It was the original Kim Jong-un.
That's
Is
what I
that
mean.
Kim
Was he?
Jong-il?
Kim Jong-il. I get mixed up. I know it sounds terrible.
No, it would have been Kim Jong-il, wouldn't it? Because he
The
was an old
grandfather,
motherfucker.
It was the oldest one. It wasn't the one from Team America. It was the one before that.
Hold on.
Was his
We're
dad?
on Kim Jong-il now.
Yeah.
Kim Jong-un.
I think it
Kim
might have been
Jong-
Kim Jong-sun.
Kim Jong.
Ah.
Kim Jong. Son
What song?
was. It was Kim Jong Un was
Either
the
way,
one that was around
Well,
before.
that's the one now.
it was the original.
Fuck's sake. Yeah, Kim
It's his
Jong Un is
granddad.
now.
Just called him his granddad.
Yeah.
isn't
It's
it?
his
Kim
granddad.
Jong Il
Was the first one.
was the one before him. Was Kim Jong Un's dad,
Just Google it.
and
Yeah.
Kim
So
Jong
these-
Sun was Kim Jong Il's dad.
I just Google it.
I was trying to work out who was in
It's,
power
it's,
at this
it's,
point.
it's the new guy's granddad. There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, his dad's dad. Yeah.
The one that did, one that played golf for the first time and got a hole in one.
Every time.
Every time.
And he invented hamburgers and TV
Mm.
and lightning and electricity. Did everything, that man.
That wasn't that his dad.
Oh, it could have been.
That was his dad.
Yeah, that was, you're right, yeah.
Yeah.
So in 1950, following the North Korean invasion of South Korea and the subsequent UN intervention, the UN forces had pushed the North Korean army almost back to the Chinese border, and in response, China enters the war, secretly deploying a massive force across the border. The PVA launched a surprise attack on the advancing UN forces in the attempt to push them back from the Chinese border and prevent the collapse of the North Korean regime. If they just hadn't have pushed up to the river, they'd have been fucking fine. You wouldn't have a North Korea nowadays. It'd be gone.
Yeah.
The UN forces, led by the US 10th Corps and Marines, were caught off guard by the Chinese assault and quickly found themselves surrounded and outnumbered at the Chosin Reservoir. The temperature during the battle dropped as low as minus 35 Fahrenheit or minus 37 centigrade, causing frostbite, equipment malfunctions, and adding to the challenges faced by the beleaguered UN troops. They are heavily outnumbered and facing severe weather conditions, and the UN forces, mainly composed of the 1st Marine Division, forced tenaciously to break out of the encirclement. Then the ultimate quote is, you've got this journalist there, he's talking to one of the Marine general, and he says, how do you feel about this retreat, General? He goes, hell, this ain't no retreat. We're just attacking in a different direction because they're surrounded.
It was Kim Il-sung.
There you go.
Was Kim Jong-il's dad. Yeah. Fucking confusing as hell.
Yeah. The fact that the UN actually managed to get away is seen as a massive blunder by China, who of course could have done something could have ended the war there and then. Alright, I think the French deserve one last crack at this.
The cheese-eating surrender monkeys.
Yeah, but it's one of their later ones. It's Vietnam. Because the French were in Vietnam before the Americans. The French used to own Vietnam.
Right, okay.
And the North Vietnamese, the Vietnamese kicked them out. And then the Americans got involved when they split the country in two.
It was called Indochina, wasn't it?
Yes, it was, yeah. The Battle of Dien Bien Phu in 1954. One of the last hurrahs of French imperialism. The French had a big empire. We all forget that. It wasn't as big as ours, obviously. No one's as big as ours.
Yeah, but they got about a bit, didn't they?
They did.
They were probably the second biggest.
Yeah, I'd go with that. Second biggest.
And then Rome after them.
Oh, I don't know if they had as much as Rome.
The Roman Empire didn't go. It stayed
I know what you're
within
saying.
the vicinity of
Europe.
I'd say square mile was probably more for Rome, though, because you got to remember.
What about the African countries?
The French had bits in Africa,
Yeah.
didn't they? Yeah. Not as a lot though. We had most of that.
That's what I mean. I think we have most.
Yeah,
So
Senegal and
well, maybe
Tunisia.
England, then the Roman Empire, then a close France. That's probably how it goes, isn't it? With ownership of the world at given points.
Google it.
you got the Spanish as well.
The Spanish and Portuguese. Remember, the Spanish had
Portuguese,
fucking Argentina, Chile,
yeah.
Paraguay, and then the Portuguese had Brazil.
The biggest navy in the world at the time, the Spanish Armada.
Should have put that one in. That was a blunder.
How would I word this one?
Biggest empire of all time. It's probably someone like the Abyssinians.
I know, yeah, it's going to surprise us, isn't it?
Carry on with Dien Bien Phu. It occurred in the remote valley of Dien Bien Phu in northwest Vietnam and is regarded as a decisive victory for the Viet Minh, led by General Vo Nguyen Giap, against the French forces commanded by Colonel, I'll say it French, Colonel Christian de Castries, and the defeat marked the end for France's colonial rule in Indochina, and did have significant ramifications for the region's future, as in it gets split in two, you end up with a Vietnam War 10 years later.
I was correct. We were. It was the British Empire was number one. Second one might surprise you, but you'll be like, oh yeah.
Genghis Khan, the
Yeah.
Mongol Empire.
You see, they found his grave, or they think they found his tomb.
Oh, when?
The other week, I saw an article on it. They reckon they found his tomb because no one knows where he was buried, and everyone that knew where he was buried was killed and put in the tomb.
Why wasn't this on
Who was
weekly?
the last person that put the last person in the tomb?
I think he killed himself.
Why wasn't this on Weekly Weird News?
I didn't think it was quite weird enough. I guess.
Genghis Khan. Anything related to?
I think you mean Genghis Khan.
Sorry.
I thought
Genghis.
We'll all be related to Genghis Khan because
As
he
you know
put
what-
himself about a bit, didn't
Yeah, he was the original lad with energy to burn. Was Genghis?
Well, if they were the second biggest, he'd he'd have raped and pillaged and whatever.
Oh boy, did he do that!
Got the Russian Empire's up there.
Yeah, that's just
Third.
Yeah, but that's just because Russia's so fucking huge.
Yeah.
It's all next to each other, isn't it? It's not like a proper empire.
Ding Dynasty fourth, Spanish fifth, the second French colonial empire sixth, Abbasid Caliphate.
The Caliphate, yeah, they would have North Africa and Spain.
Can't see the last couple, but
Yeah.
it's mad, surprising.
Oh yeah, but back to the French in 1953.
Yeah.
They established a fortified base in the valley, and they wanted to draw them in because they'd been like sniping away at them like they did with the Americans, Vietnam stuff. The trees start speaking Vietnamese. People pop up from behind you out of little holes.
I love that though from the Americans. The trees are speaking Vietnamese. Alright, we'll burn down the trees.
And the little hairy rock ape.
Don't forget the Bigfoots.
What do they call them? The rock apes.
Rock apes.
It was the rock apes, wasn't it?
Yeah. So they set up this base, and those like 5 outlying forts and like an airfield stuck in the middle. And they're like, right, we're going to draw them in.
Don't
we're gonna
forget the fairgrounds.
and the fairground.
McDonald's.
It was a circus.
Yeah.
But they're like, well, we're going to defeat them in a conventional battle. We know how to fight that. We don't know how to fight their war. The problem is the Vietnamese kind of sort of beat them at their own game. They underestimated the determination and capabilities of the Vietnam forces, and General Jack mobilised thousands of troops and labourers to transport heavy artillery, anti-aircraft guns and supplies to the besieged valley, offer over difficult terrain and under the cover of darkness. That's impressive. And they're not saying like they're carrying this on horses or cars. They've just got thousands of civilians carrying an artillery shell each through the wooden track in the woods at night.
Wow.
You know, there were people on bicycles and mortar shells hanging off either side. People just carrying crates of ammunition between them. And as the battle commenced, they encircled the French positions, constructing trenches and fortifications, playing the French at their own game, and putting their artillery on the surrounding high ground. The French put themselves in a valley. There's mountains either side.
Oh dear.
By May the 7th, the French forces finally surrendered, with over 11,000 troops taken prisoner by the Viet Minh. It didn't go well for them.
I've never heard of that one either.
I believe it's referenced at the start of We Were Soldiers by Mel Gibson.
Right, I've seen that film only once.
Right, one last one, and it's only a short one, but it's the Italians, because I don't feel that the Italians we haven't stuck it to the Italians enough. Quite frankly.
Well, they only had a cameo mention because of the World War II debacle.
They only played a cameo part, didn't they?
Well, yeah, really.
Well, pretty much this is their invasion of Egypt in 1940-41, when a British force of only 35,000 men routed a larger Italian army. Routed, right? That's routed. That's smashed them. An Italian army of 150,000 that had invaded Egypt. They pushed the hapless Italians back 500 miles and took over 130,000 prisoners for the British loss of 1,900 men.
Bloody hell.
So each one of our men basically had 4 prisoners in their possession. Just
Probably,
going by
yeah. Just go by the
number
numbers.
statistics kind of thing. Just the amount of prisoners they had, let alone just the ass kicking that the rest of them had kind of thing.
Just remember, the only issue is you got to feed them guys.
Yeah.
You got to give them medical care.
Luckily though, they were captured by us.
Well, yeah, I know, but it's still
For them.
you've got enough food to feed 35,000 men for 3 months. All of a sudden, you've got another 130,000 people to feed.
I guess they shipped them back to Britain, didn't they?
They probably kept around there.
They would have had shipments of food delivered to them.
Yeah, the
That's how
Italians
they
would have.
did it.
We'd have let the Italians ship food and the Red Cross through the Red Cross probably.
Well, you'd
It was
find
always there.
our own forces would have arranged
Yeah.
it as well, because we looked after our prisoners of war, especially around this time. We knew how nasty our prisoners were looked after and things like that. So you'd probably find, actually no, we might have kicked them in the fucking teeth even harder, knowing what they'd treat us like if the.
They treated us well.
The
Well, I suppose the
if you're an
Italians
officer.
did though.
The Germans weren't too bad with us. There was a couple of massacres by the SS on the retreat to Dunkirk,
Was there?
but on the whole,
I don't know. There was a fair few got sent to concentration camps.
yes. But I suppose
Jewish, I imagine. and
if you
blacks.
Jewish, colonial,
POWs.
If you
for
were-
certain as well.
if you were, yeah, they were, but only if you were like a serial escapee, then they put you somewhere harder. On the whole, if you're a British prisoner of war in the West, you're probably surviving the
We've
war.
all seen Escape to Victory, is it?
Yeah, you can play with football, can't you?
Yeah. You know what I mean? And what was the other one with Steve McQueen?
The Great Escape.
Yeah.
How can you forget the Great Escape? Remember Escape to
I
Victory?
know, yeah. Well, Escape to Victory had Pele in it, so.
It did. You're right.
But, you know, in them films, they're treated pretty well.
Yeah.
Certainly better than the Japanese treated us.
I think it's on Nazi megastructures. You might have seen that. Then they were talking about or was it something else we watched? They were about a British prisoner of war camp, and it had like a theatre and a music hall and everything. You know, I'm not saying it was all fucking tea and crumpets.
I bet it was.
It was probably still a bit shit.
They'd have muted it if there was no tea.
But at the same time, if you're a Westerner surrendering to another Western army, you're probably okay. You surrender the Japanese, that figure of you being okay, that percentage of you being okay drops dramatically. If you're a German getting captured by the Russians or a Russian getting captured by the Germans, your figure's even lower. It got to the point, right? I was listening to a podcast where it was about the Second World War, because I have a lot of time to fill at work sometimes. I'm obviously I work hard all the time, but I can listen to a podcast while I'm doing it. And it's like the Germans had killed so many Russian prisoners of war, they had a labour shortage. So their orders were to capture more Russians to fill the labour shortage. It's like, well, just don't kill them in the first place. You know?
It's a simple answer, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, so that's Great Military Blunders.
Yep.
I think you know what, I know it was only a short one, but the invasion of Egypt's fucking terrible. It's up there for me as my number one. It might be my top 3, that one.
Well, the absolute arse kicking in numbers and things like that.
Yeah.
It was a joke on their side.
All of their fucking attacks were a joke in World War II.
Yeah, they were.
And he did most of them off his own back. He didn't consult Hitler. He just invaded Albania.
You took out Mussolini.
Yeah. Because Mussolini thought, well, I'm the original fascist, you know. I'm
the original gangster. I'm the OG. I'm going to do what I want.
That's what he thought. And he's like, because obviously the Italians have been going since the early 20s, haven't they?
Yeah, they are.
And he was like, you know, he thought of himself as bigger than Hitler, to be fair.
He thought he was a Roman emperor, didn't he? He was like a Caesar in his mind.
He just starts going off and starts attacking places and failing miserably.
Yeah.
You have to keep bailing them out.
And that's the thing with this, like, the reason Rommel went to North Africa was because the Italians were so fucking terrible. Yeah. That's up there with my number 1. What about you guys? I'm going to pick that one.
I'm still going with the Paraguayans.
You're still sticking with the
El
Paraguayans?
Supremo.
This is my favourite purely because it's a victory for us.
That was a very strong victory, yeah. Can't help wondering why, you know, the Italians thought they could, you know, go and just
Do what they tried to do.
go into
Mussolini.
Egypt.
He was crackers,
Yeah,
wasn't he?
he was
He
too
was
big-headed, wasn't he?
crackers.
Hubris on the man.
You're sticking with the Romans, Claire, for your top 1.
Yeah.
The Battle of Hannibal defeated them 80,000 dead in a day.
Yeah, that's just it's beyond belief, isn't
Well,
it?
for numbers, it's the song.
Yeah, it is. No, 80,000 dead Romans in a day. Some was in a morning, I guess.
See, before that was my.
But remember, the
favourite.
Romans are doing it with swords.
Yeah.
The Carthaginians do it with swords.
Yeah.
It's even more impressive, isn't it?
It is it's a high kill death ratio.
Yeah.
If you're playing card at that battle, Roman card, you'd be top of the board.
They should do that. A Roman Call of Duty.
I'm like a slingshot for range attacks.
Yeah.
Catapults.
Chariots.
Yeah. That'd be pretty sweet. Right, well, we'll copyright us. We'll take that.
Activision, if you are listening.
I've been Ben. Thank you very much for listening. Don't drink the flavour aid. Don't join a cult.
I've been Mike. Thanks for listening. Peace out. Another minute.
And I've been Claire. Keep an open mind, but not so open that it spills out your ears.
And I've been Pete. Take care all. See you next week.